Hello again. Well, it's time to talk sled. Now, this is one of those stations which seems to, a lot of the stuff you read, a lot of the videos you see, seems to catch a lot of people out. And to be perfectly honest, and again, I'm speaking from pure ignorance right now, but I've pushed a lot of sleds. But until I actually do it, whether there is something kind of fundamentally different. But as I've said in a lot of the other things, my whole training idea is to basically try and minimize and get rid of all the other things, as many as possible, so that I can just focus on those. Now, I'm very lucky at the gym that I train, we have a sled. Now, we had a sled that again, I used for a while. What we started doing about 6 months ago, one of the people in the group that we're all doing Hyrox together, they actually got us made, they made us a sled, Hyrox style sled with the 4 poles and the pole in the middle, with the weight on it and all the rest of it, with the handles kind of, the poles on the side narrower, which will become important in a second. So that really changed it, because what that allowed us to do was, what became clear, a lot of people talked about the sled, was the technique of pushing it. And you'll have seen on some of my videos, if not I will be doing some of some specific ones of movements and things like that. But there's a specific way to hold the Hyrox style sled, which before I tried it just looked like kind of, oh, well, that must be easier for that person. I don't think there's any of us doing the Hyrox in a few weeks' time who isn't now using this technique, because weirdly it's so much faster. Now, previously in my training sessions, I would be straight armed holding that. So it's basically almost like a shoulder press, pushing that head down, trying to get your head below your arms and kind of pushing, and body kind of straight doing that. But the technique that we now use, and again, you have to have the right sled to be able to do it. Our previous sled, it was, I couldn't, the poles were very far apart, so I couldn't use this technique. And basically the technique is to put your hands almost about 6-7 inches above the bottom, so right by the sled. And then the poles of the sled actually run up the bit that I don't know if it has a name, the back of the elbow. That bit. So your arms on there. Now again, that takes some getting used to. It's almost like, when you develop gym calluses, you need kind of, back of the arm calluses, and not that bad. But by doing that, what you then do is you naturally lean between the poles. And so that, and again, I know this has been on some of the videos, you will see my forehead is about 2 or 3 inches at most, right above the pole in the middle. So my center of gravity is over the sled, and that just allows me to get so much more power, and it's so much quicker. And it's also easier on the arms, because rather than pushing out in a shoulder press, I'm kind of in there locked in tight and getting that. So that's one of the things, if you've got a sled that kind of works, then that's the right width, then that's a technique that definitely makes a massive difference. And on the day, if you can do that technique, even if you haven't had a chance to practice it, you will get a faster sled time. So that's just about the kind of the holding it. Now, the other thing with the training that we've done, which makes sense when I kind of look back, but and this is where I think potentially people fall over in the actual race itself, is the only time we ever use the Hyrox specific weight, so the 150 kilos and things like that, is when we're doing a simulation. Every other time we train, we are going beyond Hyrox distance, and we are going typically, well, the maximum is twice Hyrox weight, but we're always doing heavier weights than required. Now, part of that is because the carpet that you'll use at Hyrox is going to be a bit stickier than the one that you might have in the gym. Typically, also, it's going to be longer than the one you might have at the gym, depending on the size of the kind of the lap that you've got at your gym. So going heavy just means we're training heavy. So when we actually come in, it surprises us every time, is someone will always say when we're doing simulation, is that the right weight? It seems very light. Because if you've been training at 200, 250, 300 kilos, 305 or 4, I think is my maximum, and doing that for 100, 150, 200 meters. When it comes to doing, and certainly when we're doing the doubles, 2 of you pushing the 150 kilo sled for just 50 meters, it feels like, you're cheating basically. And that's been really, really good, because, by training hard, training long, training heavy, it means that when it comes to the race, this is actually a weight that's well within our capabilities and a weight that's kind of easier. Even if the weight feels a little different in the venue and the carpet feels a bit kind of more resistant and a bit kind of stickier, because we're used to pushing heavier weights for longer distances, that 50 meters with that light sled is going to make a difference. So it really is, to me, those are the two key components. It's getting that stance right, that position right for holding it, and it's practicing heavy, and really kind of pushing that, on a heavy leg day. We'll often kind of finish with that, but we've done sessions where we've literally just pushed 500 meters worth of sled, heavy sleds, much heavier than the Hyrox weight, just to get used to that, momentum. Now, again, as with anything, there are lots of much better exercises than pushing a sled to get stronger in the legs, and it's looking at those. We put this one in there because it's simultaneously, by pushing heavy, we are getting very, very good at that particular movement for Hyrox and at a heavier weight. And look at all the kind of the recent sims, we are pushing that sled at about 1 minute 20, 1 minute 30 at most for the 50 meters. And I think on the day, I think we did the last sim, actually, I think we did it at 1 minute and 2 seconds, I think. So it's barely even a station. It almost takes longer to run, come off the run track into the station, push it, and then get back on there. So it's not really a rest. And I think that's what catches people out. It's not so much the sled catches people out, but it's the fact that, you've come off the run into the ski, another run into the sled, and before you know it, there's no real recovery time. You're back out on another run. So sled is the first bit, and being able to get that technique, and then basically being able to push yourself, do more distance, do more weight, and do that repeatedly so you get that technique. Honourable mention at the end here, and this, although this is something that changed a while ago for me, it's worth mentioning, and I will go into more detail with this, but footwear, shoes is a key component to this. When I first did sled push, and going back to probably the beginning of the year, my maximum sled push, absolutely maxed out, was 205. I couldn't get the drive to do that. I felt like I was strong enough to push it, but I was literally like a cartoon character with my legs spinning almost to try and do that. And that was down to the shoes. And that was where I was wearing kind of Metcons, which is for lifting and things like that. As soon as I moved over to running shoes and getting some running shoes, which for me had the balance of cushioning and giving you that bounce, but stability. I tried a couple of pairs which are great for heavier runners, but because I'm a little bit lighter, I felt like I was on little mini stilts, so it didn't give me that stability. But once I did that and had the flexibility in the shoe, combined with the different technique of holding it in position wise, I was able to get a lot more drive, a lot more pressure, and get that sled moving. And that's where 305 kilos, which is basically 4 times my body weight, being able to kind of push that. So shoes is important, and also it's the one, sled pull to a degree, but sled push is the one that again, it's useful with the shoes, testing this, because you might want to make sure you've got the heel lock, how you're laced up, because what you don't want is your heel to come out the back of the shoe, which it can do if you haven't practiced that and you're not used to it, if the shoe doesn't bend enough, and depending on the lacing. So just an honourable mention to that. But if you're practicing heavy and practicing longer, and you can get that technique, then I think it doesn't become an easy station, but it becomes an easy station to get in and out quickly and save yourself for one of the other stations. So hopefully that's been useful. Next one will be, unsurprisingly, sled pull, and how different that is from the sled push. So hope that's helped. Another day close to Hyrox, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.